Hey, the disrespect. Imagine I do a whole episode last week and telling everybody happy birthday and forget the general birthday, the boss birthday, boy.
Get something and wave, boom bam. Get something and wave. Get something and wave, everybody. Get something and wave. This carnival, it's back and
Hey, what the boss say?
no curfew. For the mural, yeah, ringing a bell.
Tell them again.
No curfew.
Mr. Police Commissioner.
The action start from Panorama. Too long inside, I want to wail in a band.
Why yo?
Lion break no law.
What's your time for?
Trinidad and Tobago are hearing bing-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
All right, everybody calm down. Calm down. It's not that kind of fete still. Stay home is not that kind of fete, but salute and happy birthday to Super Blue, the Austin Lions, the king of the road march. A road march in every decade since he started win road march. You call that? Nobody. I don't know if it have any other artists who ever do that. Marshall, maybe? Nah, Marshall started in the 80s. He went no road march till the 90s. So, a matter of fact, when was 98? Big Truck would have been Marshall first road march. But salute to Super Blue and happy birthday to the legendary. And all the Point Fortin thing, right? I know Super Blue from Point Fortin and all these nice things, but to be honest with you, we claiming Super Blue in St. James, if you're being honest. Super Blue is now officially from St. James. So everybody from Point, salute to all and thing, but we claiming Super Blue. That is ours now. But again, welcome to episode 52 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. Thank you for everybody for listening. And salute to all the people who's be still waiting for a link and not subscribing nowhere. Salute to all you still, love all you and everything. But please, remember that when you're enjoying it and think, share it with a friend. Subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Audible, TuneIn Radio, everywhere again, podcast. Just search for it, right? Corey Shepherd Podcast. Thank you very much. 52 episodes. If you didn't notice, it's officially 1 year into this thing. I know song effects, no, I know wrong. I need to work on that. I need some song effects because I need to give myself a damn round of applause for 52 weeks of this thing. And finding things to talk about during this COVID, the whole place locked down. And the Monday of this week, the beginning of this week here, for everybody who listening abroad, I don't know if all you know, but we in our official lockdown. Everything I say before about lockdown, that gone down the drain. Now I know what a lockdown really is because we was in curfew from what time? 10 a.m. to 5 a.m. the next morning. We watch Barbados go through that. We watch Jamaica go through several versions of it, but we here now. So that's Indian Arrival Day, full lockdown, no lime. So people was calling for it. People say this is what should have happened during Easter. I myself was saying so that they should have a lockdown during the Easter time where he was limiting movement. But boy, to be honest with you, if they had do this for 4 straight days for Easter, I feel mankind could have go mad. But we wouldn't have these cases we deal with now, sure. So we dealing with a full lockdown, and then Thursday. What Thursday? What's the holiday Thursday? What's me and religion? What Thursday is with Thursday? With Thursday? Corpus Christi. I probably wrong about both of them things. I ain't sure if it have no with Thursday night, but whatever day it is, we home 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I didn't really see much happening Sunday in terms of a rush, because my thing would be whenever they call a lockdown like that. The usual thing is that we rush to the groceries and them places. But not much of that happened. We had nowhere to go Sunday anyway. Sunday, we were in long weekend mode, which most times mean go by the beach, relax, find somewhere to lime, go by family and things. But that kind of slowed down by itself. So it looked like it was one of them lazy long weekends where you just stay home and chill. But no sort of movement by the supermarkets and things. So apparently the people was right in that the lockdown, we being a little more responsible when that lockdown coming and we're not crowding the places and all that. I am eager to see what happened between Tuesday and Wednesday because at the rate, I can tell you about home by me, at the rate we eating here, we got to find our grocery. We can't survive till the Thursday now, so we might have to find our grocery between Tuesday and Wednesday. And listen, I would like to put this a disclaimer up front that my wife cooks a lot of food, and you know what I mean? Not all things said on this podcast is for entertainment, right? The purpose of this podcast is for entertainment and light humor and so on. And I have a happy home. Block is hot. I don't want to I want to get off that topic one time too, because I went and commit. If you have a thing such as curfew suicide, I didn't see this whole curfew coming in. But imagine the episode before we have a 24-hour kind of lockdown and all restaurants closed, grocery can't sell restaurant food again, everything stop. That is the week I decide to make a joke about people and they cooking. So I'm hungry on this Indian arrival day. Nobody raised me eating home here. I figure we back in the grocery, so I'm waiting to see what Tuesday brings and if it will be a big rush in the grocery and that kind of thing. But new measures. No more Royal Castle. And so that live and die fast. I plan to talk about that, the Royal Castle, how it tastes in the grocery Royal Castle. I didn't even make it to this episode before they stop all the Royal Castle. And I'm putting it up front that I feel it was the right thing to do. I was talking to my guy Lasana during the course of the week, and he was saying that it's not fair. I agree with that, right? None of these things fair, and I don't think anything they do will ever be fair. All I know, my constant criticism is that we're doing this thing by VAPs. We're doing it as we go along. Who said that? Lloyd Best? Who said government by VAPs? That is how it's feeling. I'm feeling like they're coming out a meeting just before the press conference. Maybe that's why it's always starting late, because they're finalizing thing in the meeting before they come out, and just to make sure we're all on the same page. They probably do a short rehearsal too. You say, all right, Terrence, let me hear what you're going to say. All right, Faris, you talk. Let me hear what you're going to say. You know, something like that must usually happen in the background, but there's no real long-term planning happening with this thing, and I think that's proven over and over. But what Lasano was telling me is that it's unfair that they have caterers still able to sell into the grocery while the restaurants can't sell into the grocery. I think the main point he was making is that there are still people who have to move around, even in a lockdown. Put it this way, healthcare workers first and foremost have to be out there. The nurses working very long shifts, the doctors, the orderlies, everybody working very long shifts, and salute to them again. In addition to them, the army, the police, especially in a state of emergency and curfews and all that to take on. I see so much of police was in quarantine and people probably burns out that they issue some army reserves to come out in the field. Pauline Weeks made an appearance. It's great. And it's always good to see her. So these people on the road, and they need, you know what I mean? They're going to need to eat and everything. They don't have the facilities. But my point is this. Closing up all the places is the only thing that people responding to in the country. So it is the thing that had to be done. I will get to Royal Castle and them just now, right? I think one of the few things I learned in managing people, and I'm not the best at managing people, but one of the few things I learned over the years is, you see specific situations and specific problems, there's call for specific solutions. You never try to use a general solution for a specific problem. You're wasting resources and you're wasting, time, money, and effort is where you're wasting, right? And that's what I'm saying. If you're looking at healthcare workers, you don't know, we are a year into the pandemic. By any measure, we have a lot of things we could look at to see what worked versus what didn't work. So by any measure, the men could come and say, here, what's going on? It have a certain amount of caterers. I want to make sure that healthcare people never had to leave. Police getting sorted out. This one why the police and the healthcare workers, the people at the front line of this battle, why would they have to be going in a grocery looking for Royal Castle? It don't make sense. So there's a specific issue. I hear Lasana, there was a specific issue and they had to put something specific in place. But the core of the issue is still the same for me. We're making it up as we go along. Because just like when the SOE started, we had to wait more than 24 hours to find out what's the rules of the SOE. And we only found it out hours before the SOE start. The same thing happened this time where they come out and they say some things were specific, right? Like the hardwares was going to be closed. They said that on the 2 holidays, they're going to make a change and make everybody close. But up to news time, like you put it like that, you're still unsure if groceries open or they close. You're still unsure exactly what the curfew time is. So, you know what I mean? It's like, only making up this thing as you go along, man. But, I mean, salute to them. The 2 holidays we locked down, I think is the better thing to do. Funny enough, during the the first of the holidays on Monday, we already hear a party with 26 people get locked down. It's like, you know what I mean? Only having a little small zest. Yeah, and you know, I was asking my boy Fredo. I was talking to him on when was that? Sunday. And he was talking about curfew parties. And of course, my little frame of reference, I remember the coup had curfew parties. I don't know if people remember that. Like, one of the curfews I remember during the coup, at least for us in St. James, when it started easing up a little bit. Because if I'm not mistaken, the first couple of days, we had a full lockdown. Like, if it wasn't 24 hours, we had 3 hours we could have come out during the morning, if I'm not mistaken about that. But when it was 6 to 6, they was talking about curfew parties. So the party starting 5 o'clock and finishing 7 o'clock the next morning. So technically inside the coup had no I suppose if it's a SOE, it still have laws about how people could gather. But if you gather in a private residence back then, I guess it's cool. But he was telling me that they had same curfew parties in 1970. And that speaks the Black Power Revolution, right? For anybody who listened and didn't know the Black Power Revolution, that's what they talk about. When they had curfews, then they still had curfew parties. I thought it would be for the coup alone, to be honest. I never know. I would not think of it at all. But you know what it goes to show? It goes to show our culture as a people. That's how we are. And I find it up to be a positive thing. It working against us in a pandemic. But we as Trinis, one of the essence of being Trinidadian is to find a way to celebrate everything. Anything. I remember the song from last week, I was talking about the brighter side. I don't think anybody better at Trinis than that. We like to talk and bad talk this one, and we like to complain a little bit and blame the government for everything, you know what I mean? But we also find the brighter side of everything. We're looking for a reason to party. So I ain't surprised they hold some people for having a little fete. They say the pictures and things that we saw with the Venice fetting wasn't from... Well, it wasn't Venice. I need to stop saying that. It's all Spanish in Venice. But they said I was from Panama, so I'm not sure where in Valse in that party would be keeping and if it's more locals or foreign Venezuelans or whoever having the party. But I'm waiting to see pictures and that. If I see pictures on it before the episode, then I'll update. But again... Welcome back. This is episode 52. We're celebrating a year strong into this. Thank you for everybody who's been on the journey, on the ride. And it feels like a long time ago since episode 1. That year was a long, long year. So many different changes, so many different things that we have to do differently and adjust to. Keep in mind, when I started this the first time, it would have been last year. Well, last year, June, right? It was a year. But... we was now experiencing a lockdown for the first time. And I remember now trying to organize my little office space at home to make sure I could work from home. Who would have thought we'd be still working from home back then? Like, when I started off, one of my main things I wanted to do, and why I start quite in June, is I wanted to be able to review new soca coming out every week. Because by the time we started reach preparing for crop over and... Miami Carnival and all them things, it's starting to get taste of the music that will be coming for 2021 Carnival, right? Back then, we still was having some kind of hope that we'd have a Carnival. So, look at where I find myself. No music can come out, no Carnival, never happened. So, I had to find things to talk about. And when I talk about home now, I'm in trouble. So, look at my crosses. Look where I get myself into. But anyway, 15 minutes and we didn't say nothing yet. So, maybe we could start with music. Maybe we don't talk about music already. Let's start about music and musicians, right? So salute again to Super Blue on your birthday, legendary. One of the other legends is a road march legend and a calypso monarch legend too. Is King David Michael Rudder, the king. I remember talking about this some time ago where we was looking in our old episode. I want to tell you the number, but I can't remember. We was looking at Calypso Rose. This time was Calypso Rose, David Rudder, and Hazel Scott. Wax figures done by the Caribbean Wax Museum, right? The last time he was looking at Sparrow, and it wasn't very well received publicly. You know what I mean? The people had to come out and say that the lighting caused it to look bad and all these things. I remember talking about Sparrow looking like the head of the Conky Kongs. It wasn't looking like Sparrow. The people say it was bad lighting and all these things that caused it to look so. So apparently when you go in the museum itself, these wax figures are supposed to look better. And I remember them saying then that the next person they were going to do was David Rudder. So I said, well, David Rudder is no easy test, you know. These days he's a man, don't make joke and think too much, you know. So I said, boy, if they make David Rudder look as far from himself as Sparrow was looking from himself, I said, well, they're going to be raw. You know what I mean? Because I remember Sparrow hand looking like Muti X. I mean, check them out, eh? Check out the Caribbean Wax Museum because they are Bob Marley, they are Rihanna, they are Sparrow, there are plenty of them. And it is usually controversial every time they release one of these figures. And it was no different with David Rudder. People say it looking more like Trevor Sayers. I don't know why David Rudder was looking so upset too. You know what I mean? It's a road march legend, as I say, and a Calypso monarch legend, one of our greatest Calypsonians ever. And the man was looking very, very upset, and his dread, I don't know which era David Rudder they're taking this from, like when his dread was like that, maybe in the early 90s or whatever, but hey, I mean, is a wax figure. So I say, well, I started to get frightened one time when I see they have a Zoom call now with David Rudder to see what's his reaction to this revealing. You know what I mean? I say, oh God. And that man, jaw just dropped. He looked so dumbfounded. He looked like what is this? You know what I mean? And when you see these still shots on thing, it looked like if he was very respectful. Let me put it that way, right? He didn't react. He didn't say anything and so on. But come to find out, and I have a little clip of his reaction to it. I'll play. But I don't know all you find, but it didn't look like King David, who we know King David. You know what I mean? I wonder how they do these wax figures, boy. If a man had to pose, like when you're doing stats, you know, people had to pose and thing for the sculpting. And you sculpt wax. If it's a sculpting, yeah. People had to pose for it, or is a picture they's be using it based on. And maybe I shouldn't even ask that, because to be honest, when they did Rihanna was in a blue dress collecting a Grammy at the time. And the artist put up the picture that they used to create the Rihanna sculpture as reference. And boy, it wasn't, I mean, even if the sculpture didn't come out so good, they could have got a dressmaker to make the dress exactly like what Rihanna. Well, anyway, we nitpicking, you know what I mean? Salute to them in the Caribbean Wax Museum. The founders, Arthur Edwards and Francis Ross. And, I mean, we get kicks off for these things because when I watched Rose, Calypso Rose was another one who did. I find the thing look a little bit like Rose. Now, if you know Stacey, she that's one of her favorite people, Calypso Rose. So I telling her homie, I say, girl, the Rose ain't look so bad. The Rose looking like Rose. She say, Rose head looking long. And then she make the mistake and show me Rose hand. No, I'll tell you this, the little bit I know about art, I can't even draw nothing to save my life. So I have no right to be critiquing no artists. Salute again to Arthur Edwards and Francis Ross from the Caribbean Wax Museum. But apparently hands are not the easiest things to draw. So when you could draw and stuff, apparently, even a very good artist, it take a while to get good at drawing hands. I don't know what make it so difficult. I don't know the technical side of it, but Rose's hand was looking a little decrepit. It was big, number one. It was very, very big. And the men and them say the lighting and the angles. I could see what they mean by that. Because if you take a poor looking photo on an iPhone, like what we like to do, I could see why it mightn't look the best. But the hand was a little big, you know? And then it's the Mutse Sparrow hand. So maybe a little work and practice on hands and things. But what I will say is this. Before I get to the other clip of this, right? I find the Calypso Rose look decent. And I salute these guys every single time they do something. Because while we you know me, I like to laugh and get kicks at everything. Everything is a joke for me. But these fellas and them doing a great job of preserving our Caribbean legends. And I don't know if we noticing it, but these fellas, this place is in Barbados, right? They ain't bound to do no training, nothing. They could just use Bajan legends or any legends, and they want to stick to Rihanna and them, and they, not do anything at all. So as much as I was, the sideline and armchair laughing and that kind of thing is one thing, but I respect these fellas a lot because now we have sculptures of these greats in our culture. And it started to make me ask now, because both of these things, so in the space of a year, we have Sparrow, Calypso Rose, and David Rudder captured. They're forever immortalized. And it make me start to wonder now, like, what we do in Trinidad here over the last year to honor our legends in any field. In any field. Whether it be arts, sports, music, academics, business. What we do over the last year. I don't know, like somebody had to remind me, but I don't know what statue. Well, I guess we focused on COVID, but these fellas going ahead and do what they had to do, because COVID is all over the world and they're doing it. Add to that list Hazel Scott. Because we laugh and laugh and laugh at David Rudder and Calypso Rose. That went viral fast. And then we'll watch this lady on a piano named Hazel Scott, and like nobody didn't know who was Hazel Scott. So let me go in nerd mode now. We'll tell only a little bit about Hazel Scott. But let me hear what King David had to say about his reveal and his being immortalized by the Caribbean Wax Museum.
As artists, we have a voice. And all that voice could do is suggest. If people feel the vibe and they follow, that's fine. That's the gift of the art. Hazel was more than that to me. She not only just had a voice, but she used that voice in such a way. In Jim Crow America, when Strange Fruit was the dark anthem of America, And that's something I was so always kind of shocked to know that few people knew about her, you know. And to her family, I say on behalf of Trinidad and Tobago and people who love justice and freedom and equality, thanks to Hazel Scott. Thanks to Calypso Rose for being who she is, the game changer, still changing the game, still out there, on the boards, doing the work, you know. I always feel that if I do something, a piece of work, and I'm sure Rose and Hazel would say the same thing, and someone says, that's all right, I like it. And someone says, nah, I don't like that. And someone says, thanks very much for that. That means they're hearing you. And that's the victory of art. You know, that gives us the rhythm that takes us to the highest joy. So on behalf of my fellow artists, thank you to Art and Francis for hearing and saying, thanks for the music. Thanks for that. Peace.
Sorry, I know it's a couple minutes long, but you can't cut off the King David. You can't cut him off, right? So you hear his sentiment. As much as we laughing and joking, he pay almost no attention in his showing his gratitude for it, to how it was looking or anything like that. But he was focused on the fact that somebody doing it and capturing what it is. And notice what he's saying between there. I mean, this is a poet, you know, he's one of the best writers we have in the region. The man say, when you create a piece of art, if some people say they like it, or some people say they ain't too much like it, or some people say thanks for doing that, all of that is recognition, and that's what we're looking for. It means somebody noticing it. That means he's speaking directly to the fact that people may criticize Art and Francis from the Caribbean Wax Museum for doing a figure or a statue that not looking like the person, but he basically said the recognition is there because they're doing the work. And I want you to notice too, it's a little 2-minute clip, but look how much of the 2-minute clip he spent focusing on what Calypso Rose meant to the art form and to him. And then he spoke about Hazel Scott and how much more she was than an artist to him. And a little bit after to say, well, thanks for recognizing us and saying thanks for the music and the contribution. And you know, David Rudder, I was saying before, like, they make this statue vex, and sometimes he's come across as angry. I remember meeting him. I was playing a gig with my father in Calypso Blues Cafe. And what we had done a segment where we play road march through the years. We kind of sing a medley of road march songs, just a chorus and cut, right? It take a long time to get through. I think we start from Independence, 62, and come straight up the road with road marches, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, David Rudder have a few inside there, you know what I mean? And by the time we were done, Carl Jacobs is the person who's run the place, and that is David Rudder partner. When I packing up my quattro thing and racking down from the stage, and I turn as David Rudder stand up there, well, I feeling shame. I feeling like, oh God, why must he play so much wrong chord and sing so much wrong note in the man's song? You know, I was asking him, you enjoy it? Thank God I didn't know he was there. I feel I would be a little more nervous if I know he was in the audience taking it in. But he come across as a serious fella, and I think that when you listen to him over the years, this is one of his areas that he's gross about, the fact that our legends don't really get that recognition. So it take an institution in Barbados to capture our people and give him his flowers while he's here, and give him the opportunity to say thanks to them and also to fellow artists. And it make me realize that I watching this thing all the time. And you realize nobody wasn't laughing at the Hazel Scott sculpture. That was a lady, pretty lady, beautiful, sitting down by a piano. We wasn't laughing at that. And the reason we wasn't laughing at it is because nobody didn't know who she was. So we don't know if it looking like her or not. And boy, I myself had to go and do some research, because David Rudder spoke about her as more than an artist. And you might hear him say something in there where he was saying, Strange Fruit was the anthem in America. Now, Strange Fruit was a song done by Billie Holiday. All of us know Billie Holiday. When you listen to Sunday morning now, I like him to have a little Sunday morning breakfast with a little jazz music playing and thing. And I like the sound of Billie Holiday, and then make the house feel love in the house when she playing and stuff, right? But keep in mind that Billie Holiday and one of her, I would say her biggest song was that Strange Fruit song. And the song was, I'll get a little bit of the lyrics. I don't know if people know about it, but bear with me. It was sudden trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood on the root, black bodies swinging in the sudden breeze, strange fruit hanging from poplar trees. We know Billie Holiday as being a jazz artist and everything smooth, everything she's do song beautiful and relaxing, right? But listen to them lyrics in that Strange Fruit song. Black bodies swinging in the sudden breeze, strange fruit hanging from poplar trees. The strange fruit she was referring to is lynching in the South. So when she's talking about southern trees, she's talking about the South of America at that time, Georgia, Florida, where again the Carolinas, where it had Jim Crow laws. And she was, this song was really a response or in rebellion to what was happening in those states at the time. So why would David Rudder refer to a Billie Holiday song when he talking about Hazel Scott? So we, as I said, the men honor David Rudder, Sparrow, Rose, and Hazel Scott in 1 year. I don't know who we honor and so on, but let me get a little bit of info about Hazel Scott. Born in 1920 in Port of Spain, right? And how prolific this woman was. She would have moved to Harlem at 4, but is a Trini. She, at 8 years old, auditioned for Juilliard School of Music. Now, Juilliard's acceptance age at the time was 16 years old. But she played so well, I think it would have been a Bach composition, if I remember it right, that they were saying. So, classical piano. And she was accepted by one of the tutors or lecturers at Juilliard to be his personal student, his personal mentee in Juilliard. 8 years old. Think about classical music. If you play piano, you ever hear anybody play. That's the stage she was at 8. I listening to them talking about her and reading up on her and stuff, and they're talking about her career starting to take off. And then they're talking about 19 years old. So, 19 years old is when they say her career really break through and take off. And before that, what she had done was, with gigs being hard to come by, she went and teach herself the saxophone to play in an all-female or all-women's band. And it was more jazz bands playing in all the all-female or all-women bands. And the classical piano wasn't fitting in. So this woman went and teach herself the saxophone to be able to go into that. In terms of her professional career now, when she started Breakthrough, the reason David Rudder was talking about that is because Billie Holiday would have been a superstar at the time and performing in Harlem, in New York. I forget the name of the cafe they were saying. Extremely popular cafe. That's doing it no justice whatsoever. But it was about the cafe scene was where blues and jazz musicians used to go, and Billie Holiday was the headliner. And when she couldn't go on for some reason, she handpicked Hazel Scott and tell the promoter or the club owner that this is the person who had to fill in. And she went in there and she basically owned it from that from that point in time. So when Billie Holiday had done that Strange Fruit song, she would have recognized Hazel Scott coming up. All of them is peers and contemporaries at the time. And she take that space. They say she was friends with people like Eleanor Roosevelt, Frank Sinatra, Duke Ellington, all her fans. You know what I mean? Her hands as a pianist was insured by Lloyd's of London. And I mean, so much could be said about her. She was on the cover of Ebony magazine. She played Carnegie Hall. She was in 5 Hollywood films. The Heat Is On, Broadway Rhythm, Rhapsody in Blue, Something to Shout About, and I Do It. 5 Hollywood films she was in, right? And they're saying that she was top tier at the time in terms of actresses or actors who come in on the scene. She was the first black woman in America to have her own talk show 3 decades before Oprah. So, think about it, right? We as Trinis, we celebrate Oprah as being the beacon of blackness. Everybody and their mother like Oprah and dream to be on the Oprah show and admire her up to today, and we watch her network and everything. And we don't even know that Hazel Scott was there long before her. Like, who can recognize our own, outside of these legends in Barbados who doing it, who going to recognize our own if we don't even recognize them? How we could grow up knowing Oprah so well, but not know that a Trinidadian woman would have a talk show 30 years before Oprah? It's something else about the way we treat our people, and why they're not taught in school, why we don't know this coming up. Like, What are we missing? I don't understand. Like these. So when you hear David Rudder talk like that, it sounds like he's speaking on behalf of every artist who struggle and go through and do well in Trinidad. You know what I mean? It sounds like he's speaking on all of them behalf, because it seems as though if they don't go and lobby for themselves to be in the education system and revered and recognized locally, it's just not going to happen. So it makes me wonder, like, where are our researchers and who dealing with our curriculum and our education and our cultural arts, and why we don't know? Maybe I'm the only person who knows this, so maybe I should talk on my own behalf, but I consider myself at least a connoisseur of the culture. Me no expert, but this is mind-blowing to find a lot of these things out. And this is like the least of what David Rudder talking about. So what we're talking about here is her art. And where he said she was much more than an artist was her stance on segregation. Because she was high in demand for the music, she was high in demand for acting, but she put on her foot and said she's not going to act in any show or play venues where they have segregation. And she was known to walk out of venues. So if she goes somewhere and she finds out it's segregated, she walking out. Now, interesting about that, because I saw that in Ray Charles' movie, how he refused to play venues and get banned from Georgia because he walked out from a venue in Georgia and the promoter tell him he would never play Georgia again. Remember that? And then another movie I was watching the other day called Green Book, about Don Shirley as an artist, as a similar story, because he was a classical musician and playing segregated venues, and he had a white Italian driver. I don't know if people saw the movie Green Book. It was about the whole idea of the Green Book was a book that was circulated among black people in the South, particularly performers or anybody who tried to travel state to state. The Green Book used to tell them where they could find restaurants and facilities that will accept black people. And that whole movie spoke about Don Shirley and his journey through the South as a well-respected musician and all that. But going into venues, I remember part of the movie he was playing in somebody's house. And the people tell him he can't use the washroom in the house. He had to go in the outhouse. And he said no. And they say, well, all right, well, we go wait for you to come back. You got to drive back to your hotel. So that Green Book was really telling them what hotels to stay in and all that. But anyway, we know about those things and they're documented, and we learn about that in terms of two headlining major black performers, superstars in Ray Charles and Don Shirley, who stand up against segregation. Quincy Jones was on the same list as well. But I don't know nothing about Hazel Scott doing this. And they said that she used to put in her contract when she acting in movies, no subservient roles. She not playing no slave. She not playing no maid, no mammy, no prostitute, no hooker, none of them things. I think at the end they said she put it in where I only playing myself. Don't come with all your Hollywood thing to make me into nothing. I am Hazel Scott. That is who I playing in the movie. If all you think, check me. If all you can't do that, don't check me. So that's what David Rudder meant when he was talking about the Strange Fruit being the big song then, and her stance and who she is so much more than an artist. And he himself said, like, people seem to not know. And I mean, I in the same boat. I watching the sculpture and we laughing and we joking and things. And listen, I all for the laughs and jokes. I like to laugh and joke more than the other man. But we had to know these things too. That, like, if it is we not learning this in school, and I don't know if it's as new to you as it is to me, but I do my part to make sure that I highlight it as much as I could, because it's not right that we could laugh and think about it, because all of us know Calypso Rose, all of us know Rudder, all of us know Sparrow, but Hazel Scott was just she get crop out of all the pictures when we was making the joke and laughing and things. She just get crop out. Now, matter of fact, when I see Hazel, I automatically thought Hazel Redmond, especially because she was in front of a piano. If you don't know Hazel Redmond, Google Hazel Redmond, right? But I thought it was that. Only to find, so when you see the artists so the heroes of our heroes, so David Rudder is a hero to me, and she is clearly a hero to him. We had to find better ways to celebrate these people, boy. I mean, even posthumously, more should be done so that we know who these people are. Random story, right? On the same topic, but random story. Salute my guy Colonel King, and I was talking about this Christmas time when they got Scrunter to do What was the name of the song now? I can't remember the name of the song. We parangin down by the house. I going down by Tanti for house. I love this song. And I get the chance and the opportunity through that to meet Scrunter and talk to him and them types of things. And I mean, I'll get Scrunter on the podcast eventually. You know. He said I'd come grandy. I go reach eventually. But as a legend, I spend 15, 20 minutes talking to Scrunter. And you know what Scrunter was saying? He said in Grenada, in schools, every little child had to learn take the number. I wonder if people know Scrunter take the number. He said every child that going to school had to learn take the number because of what this song is. Maybe I should play it. I don't want to leave it open. No. Last week I leave a song open and I realized people didn't know it. Let me play Take the Number and listen to the lyrics. He's saying every school child in Grenada up to today had to learn this song. And I want some feedback. Like I want to know how much people know this song in Trinidad. Like home here. We let these things go as a work of poetry and a public service message, if you could call it like that. Many, many people might not know. But every school child in Grenada learning it. Listen to the song, Take the Number by Scrunter.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
I stand up and I am a neighbor this morning, giving she daughter a very strict warning.
number. Yeah. So listen, the end ain't bad in the ball. You have to go and find that for yourself. The little solo in the end is bad. Take my word for it, right? So when you listen to that song, it's basically a public service announcement. Big song. Take the number. But I'm not sure like how much of us know these things here, but they're teaching it in a school in Grenada. It's like, I don't know what's stopping us from giving our own that kind of respect and putting them up on the pedestal that they deserve to be on and giving them the flowers. So again, salute to the guys at the Caribbean Wax Museum. I can't salute enough. We go make a joke and we go laugh and thing, but we had to appreciate the work that these guys doing overall. So again, Arthur Edwards and Francis Ross, salute to David Rudder, Calypso Rose and Hazel Scott, all well deserved. And I have a sneaky suspicion Super Blue will not be forgotten from their list. Marshall Montana will not be forgotten from their list. So I'm sure they have much more to come, and we had to step up our game locally here. I'm not sure who we have statues of, if we have rows, if we have a monument or something named after David Rudder. I don't know, but we need to get up to scratch fast to make sure that our legends understand that they're well appreciated and well loved. We have too much legends who, first, they're living abroad. And while that might be a choice, a big part of it is you're not celebrated locally, you're celebrated more so abroad. So when he highlight Calypso Rose and the work she's doing, so much of her recognition at this point come from France. Before she was recognized in France like that, she wasn't in the conversation locally here very much from what I remember. So we had to step up and do better. Because at the end of the day, all of us are... I couldn't help it, sorry. Salute to the legend that is Wade Mark. I don't know why would Wade Mark be having so much trouble to say Trinbagonians. I mean, it couldn't be that. You know, a funny thing about Wade Mark, right? Funny he should come up in the news this week. Coincidentally, right? This is just between me and you. When I was doing my MBA when I do my MBA, it was still a place called the University of the West Indies Institute of Business, IOB. And the campus was on the corner of, it was like Page, the corner of Page and the highway. I don't know if people remember there, but like FedEx is in that building now. It opposite I think it's a Hindu school, as primary school. And them days, we used to park in that school. First, IOB was a struggle for parking. Now, is FedEx and a lighting place. I think it's Lighthouse, the place name now. But we used to park opposite in the school there. And we had to cross over the walkover to reach in the class and things. So we used to have class a couple days a week, must be 4 days out of the week. And then Saturday and Sunday we had class when we started the MBA. So that was before it was Arthur Lockjack Graduate School of Business, what we know in Mount Hope now. So when I started my program, I was in that IOB building first, and we transferred during the program over to Arthur Lockjack. So the people who were in my year were the first people to graduate from that new building. We went into the program there. What the hell are I talking about all that for? And what I had to do with Wade Mark? Well, coincidentally, while I was doing my program, Wade Mark was also doing his program. I'm not sure if people remember the scandal associated with Lockjack and the People's Partnership at the time, where several lecturers who were lecturing me in IOB ended up as part of the cabinet of the People's Partnership. And several, the biggest names in the cabinet, including Kamla Prasad Bisesa and Wade Mark, had graduated with MBAs, and a talk was going around about a closed-door exam that people had to do, and questions were asked about if people do the exam and them kind of thing. Now, let me tell you a little story about that. Because Wade Mark and Kamla Prasad Bisesa were in IOB the same time as me. They came in and graduated the same time I went in. So, funny story about Wade Mark and the Trinbagonian thing. I can't pronounce it, and it's odd, right? But when I see it this week, it make me remember that when we were in IOB, we used to see them as a small campus and that kind of thing, right? It wasn't a very big place. And used to see them from time to time while we were there. And that would be year one. By the time we reached year two, I did not see any of them very often at all by the time we move over to the new building. Because while we were in transit, we moved from Natuna, and most of our classes used to be on the St. Augustine campus. And I remember doing exams on that St. Augustine campus at a point in time. And what I used to do, right, when I study, here what I like to do, right, when I decide on what questions I do in an exam, I like to write down everything on one piece of paper. My answer to a question had to fit on one sheet of paper for me to remember it. So I'd write little bullet points, we make little acronym and them kind of thing to remember your stuff, right? So I used to do that. So if I have 4 questions to answer, the morning of the exam, if the exam starts at 9 o'clock, I used to be in the car park 9 in the morning with my little piece of paper now, just revising. By that time, it's either I know it or I don't know it. I either going to pass or going to fail. But I'm a little piece of paper with my last minute notes. And when I finished that, about 8:30, I was starting to walk towards the exam room, and I used to throw away the paper in the closest bin to the room, and I go in to start the exam. I must remember that sheet of paper. And one morning, while I finishing up reading my thing, I see a car pull up next to me. Now, them was the whole car park empty. Nobody didn't used to be there. When I look good, is the man himself, Trin Gobanian Wade Mark, next to me in the car. Every single textbook like he have for the whole lifetime of the program is open in the car. And I said, but what are you studying? So if you had to study so much, so close to exam, crap or smoke your pipe as far as I can see. And I tell you, I see with my own 2 eyes. When I go in there to do the exam, he used to, I leave in 8:30 and he's still in the car flipping through book and making notes and something. And I say, but boy, that would make me too nervous. And every exam I see him walking, that man used to walk in the exam room late, bouncing, coming in, smiling. You know, Wade Mark style. Big boy business. Big smile on the face, bouncing in. And we had a rule. You couldn't leave the exam room before a certain time. Boy, Peter Kobe service 45 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And by that 45-minute mark, he gone. And to be honest with you, I telling you, for me, if I leave an exam that's supposed to be 2-3 hours after 45 minutes, I fail. I can't pass the exam. I know what that feeling is like. I could fail some exam in my time. So going forward, I used to call that sheet a Wade Mark. Anytime I ready for exam, I used to write down my little Wade Mark and go in my car and read it off. Just a random story that people should know. I also never see, I never see her in an exam room at all in my whole time in Knockjack. So I don't show how they graduate degree and all these kind of things. But they say closed door exams or something. So anyway, that was a random story. But salute to my guy Wade Mark for giving me things to use on the podcast, because as a I like a good laugh. No more salutes, more flowers to give people, right? This week I had the pleasure of going with my mother for her to get her vaccine. She is now halfway vaccinated, which I'm very, very happy and relieved about. I hope my father could get on the train fast. I know everybody else in my family, like, get the vaccine as soon as you could. You know, they say the best vaccine is the one that you get. So she got her vaccine this week. She has shown no symptoms or no issues, thank God, with that. So I'm very, very happy. I really need a lot of applause now. I need some kind of song effects in this. But I'm glad about that. But the experience was interesting because I said here a few weeks ago that she was trying to book the appointments and do the WhatsApp and do the calling and all that and wasn't getting a response. But eventually she did, and they called and they offered her to come up to Santa Cruz Health Center. Early for me, 9 o'clock in the morning, but I mean, she's a woman up early. So we went up. And it was a cool drive. You know, the road ain't as busy as it usually is. Having to drive through Marval and Santa Cruz that early morning was no problem. And when I got up there, she's a woman who's move early too. So I try to move early when she move into. I don't like to, she get anxious about time. So we must reach up there about 8:30. And as we reach up, we walk in and they ask us if we came for 9 o'clock. And I say, yeah. So I tell myself, well, we good. She said, no. The security there say, well, all right, you had to wait in the car. I say, well, okay. We went back to the car. Some other people were there as well who came for 9 o'clock who would have reached a little early. We went back in the car and then I say, you know what? We chilling in the car there. About 5 to 9, we walk back down. You know, see if they're taking the 9 o'clock crowd yet. You know, while we sit down in the car, and the car is on a street opposite the health center, the security walk up the street and come and call everybody in the car to tell them they're ready for the 9 o'clock. I find it was a great gesture. So salute to Officer Ravello, security at Santa Cruz Health Center. I find it was such a nice gesture, and it shows you how organized they are there. And they really want to get the thing done. They have a very welcoming environment. I walk back down with my mom, I ask him, well, I see a little tent to sit down with. I'm trying to squeeze myself in. As I reach in, I started to push my shoulder forward too. I said, well, I'm going to hook me up or they'll make me come quite here. But no luck with that. They sent me right back in the car to wait on her. But it was such a nice feeling because it's about a fellow by the gas station opposite the health center selling pat choy. He and all telling people, all right, 9 o'clock, they're ready for 9 o'clock. So them up there, they have a nice little system rolling, and it was just nice to see it. And you could see where I was wondering the other day how, tragedies usually bring people closer together. And somehow we finding a way to be more divided through this tragedy that we're dealing with. But boy, the Trinidadianness starting to come out. You can't. One of the things, and my partner Brian here, man, is the first man who told me this. He said, don't judge nothing by what you're seeing on social media. And I had to remind myself that all the time. Social media is not a good, thermometer of what really happening. You had to be out and you had to be among people and stuff. And that Santa Cruz Health Center, that very family-like Trinidadianness, and a salute again to my guy Ravello. I wish I'd get all the nurses' name up there because they really create an environment where you could see that they're taking it seriously and they're happy to see people vaccinated and coming up there. So salute to the Pachoy man. The Pachoy man was really, man, I mean, I should have bought a Pachoy. Next time. Maybe if they give me a vaccine. But again, everybody try to get vaccinated, especially if you're numbered on call, if you're a frontline worker, if you're in the age group, more vaccines coming. I see dates. And the nice thing about mommy vaccine was that they already gave her the date for the second Sinopharm shot or Sinopharm shot. So that was good. And I saw the AstraZeneca coming in from Grenada now where people getting their appointments for the second shot. So that's great. I mean, however we get, we get. And we could criticize the system and the planning and all that for the vaccines. It's a plenty to criticize there. But beyond that, when they have them on the ground, let me make the appointments. If you go on Ministry of Health website, on the Twitter, they have it all over. The numbers that you could WhatsApp or call, 800-VAX is the one VAXX that you could call to book your appointment, or the WhatsApp. The WhatsApp is what my mother eventually got through with. She sent the WhatsApp. It took a while, but they eventually responded and they called her and they offered her to be able to go Santa Cruz. So I'm glad for that. And I mean, continue with the 3 W's. Wear your mask, wash your hands, watch your distance. And I had to remind myself of the 4th W too. Yeah? Sometimes you had to wash your blasted mask. Even my mask smelling that kind of way. So 4 W's. Wash your hands, wear your mask, wash your mask from time to time, and watch your distance. And we all good to go. We're starting to see, when all these vaccines reaching, it gave me plenty hope. I think we somewhere heading to the end. Down here we always behind. When a song busts somewhere, a dance or whatever it is, it's take about 6 months to reach Trinidad and become very popular. So everybody else partying and watching only in Florida, watching only in New York. So maybe we have about 3 to 6 months again, while the numbers still high and everything's still looking gloomy and it's lockdowns. I feel we're coming out of this lockdown real strong and we have some hope for a bright Christmas. And I even brighter carnival. Well, before we move from the lockdowns, I want to touch on this Royal Castle thing, right? Royal Castle is my favorite thing to eat. Me eat meat for years, and Royal Castle was one of the hardest things for me to stop eating. Royal Castle is the greatest fried chicken in the country. But the guys in Arima, some supermarkets in Arima, start selling Royal Castle chicken. Now, mind you, it's about $75 for the little 3-piece or 4-piece or whatever they were selling. It wasn't cheap. Rightfully so, because if you're making it available in stores when the whole Royal Castle closed, it would be a little more expensive for Royal Castle to put it out and then the grocery had to make their money. But of course, people flock that. I myself, guilty of anywhere that's selling prepared food. Pre-prepared. How you say that? Like cooked food then. Let me put it that way. Anywhere selling that, I head in there. I looking for things to buy to eat. Even as the most amount of lockdown, I looking to see if I could get some wings and who's selling roti and them things. They could get my money. St. Christopher's and Fitz Street Market. Massey's also sell cooked food. So not because of anything happening home here or anything, because I am well fed home and people cook well and cook a lot and consistently. I'm very grateful for that during this lockdown period. I just want to make that very clear. But I like to buy food. That's just one of my things. I like to buy food. So, of course, people would have started flocking to the Arima groceries. Now, where I agree with the idea of shutting down, although it murkier, and what make it even more murky is they say restaurants cannot sell to the retailers to sell food again. But the caterers, because they don't cook their own food a lot of times, they buy from a caterer or they buy from a restaurant. So now the caterer could continue to sell, but the restaurant can't sell. And making it even more unclear, as with so many directives they give during this year and some change. They say, if you ain't sure, call the Ministry of National Security or the Ministry of Health or somebody, or call the nearest police station to find out if you could open. I mean, guys, that can't be the way we do anything. It's really by Vapsidle. How I got to call a hotline, or they had to set up a hotline to do that? Why are we not thinking through exactly what we're coming to tell people when we're making these changes and restrictions? But I agree with the restaurant thing, because if we're sure about one thing, food is cause people to congregate. We could agree on that. Anywhere you're selling food, especially when there's no food available for sale in restaurants throughout the country, people are going to end up congregating by those places. When people start to congregate now, it has no hope to get the numbers down. Look at what we see in the smallest we see in is 300 and something. We never see them numbers last year at all. Now we're glad when we see 2-3 something. Royal Castle selling into Arima and getting success from that. What he's saying is that people now had to go to work in Royal Castle to fry that. I would think that they're frying that in a Royal Castle in Arima. When that gets some success now, all the other retailers who looking to make money now during this time, they would have started getting Royal Castle by them. That means Royal Castle, Chagonas would have opened, St. James would have opened. So all of them would have opened, and they're not taking customers, but they have 5-6 people there now who come in to fry chicken and make sure that the thing good. And then Arawaka deliveries to make to there. So Arawaka to call out more stuff. It can't work that way. It's not going to be fair. We have to accept that. It's not going to be fair and it's not going to be clean cut. What I would like for it to be is organized and well communicated. But it's no balance here. The whole place imbalanced. We need to have food in the stores still, because there are people who on the road and working still, like I say, police and soldier, and we have people working in the supermarkets. People would need to buy food. As well as people like me who well fed and all these things at home but want to buy food from time to time. But we can't allow it to go, I'm saying we like I in charge, but we can't allow it to run where every restaurant now, because it is innovation. I give them kudos for innovating. I hope that when COVID done, innovation don't stop it. Because I would like to be able to, instead of going and buy a greasy rotisserie chicken looking like they bathed down in oil before it rotisserie, I would like to go in the grocery and be able to buy that same container with a whole Royal Castle fried chicken. It is a fat man's dream. Why? How come we don't do that? Why it take a whole global pandemic for doubles to be prepackaged and available in different places? Why it take a whole pandemic for roti to be delivery? If KFC and them could fry chicken and deliver, why roti can't deliver too? Why they can't have a drive-through roti shop? I've been saying this for years. Why when you go at Doubles Man, why you can't drive? No, my Doubles Man in Chagonas, I could drive through in Chagonas gas station in the corner of Montrose and Chagonas Main Road. You could just drive through, but in a gas station, so I could drive through the gas station and my girls come and hand me my doubles. But I hope we don't throw away all this creativity that we have, because when it comes to breaking the law or bending the rules or going just beyond what we're allowed to do, we clearly ahead of the rest of the world in that. As so I'm hoping that it don't mean that when this done, we done with all the innovation and them things too. All those things could stay. You could get your prepackaged doubles, you could get your Don's roti and your hot up that. All of us can, like, where your favorite roti shop is? Let me ask you. Sometimes your favorite roti shop far. So if your favorite, I would prefer to eat doubles on the spot, right? No doubt about that. I would prefer to go in my favorite roti shop and buy a roti and eat. I like Amens, I like S&Ds and things. But why when I in town, I can't go in Fitz Street and get S&D's roti right through, packaged and nice and everything? That is what we had to do to start becoming more competitive with the products that we're selling all over the place. Because then if you could do that and you could prepackage it and sell it, now we have a product that you could send Guyana and send Barbados, send Grenada, send Jamaica, send it to New York, London. You have something now you could sell. You also have something that you could franchise. So while we bringing in fried chicken franchises here, you could also send out roti franchises all over the world. So a man in Shepherd's Bush Instead of eating, boy, they carry me shepherd's bush at time to buy a roti. It's one of the worst things I ever see. Why they can't just take a Patridge or Ali's and carry it shepherd's bush and make the same, you know what I mean? Or salute to the best roti in Trinidad, Shams roti in Shogunas is the greatest. This is not a paid political announcement, right? But all in all, Royal Castle, they do the right thing by stopping that restaurant thing, because Royal Castle was doing that, KFC would have been next, then Starbucks would have started sending coffee in the places, and it was getting wild already. It was done getting wild. So I think it's the right thing to do. I like the measure of shutting down the holidays too. As I say, from a cultural standpoint, we know what would have happened during the holidays. All of us would have go, even if we don't do the parties, because we have a tendency to look down on people, you know. We're watching the people who do the party and we saying who jackass in the scene and who. But we ourselves like to go by family and have a little family get together because we feel our family don't have no COVID. So we do a little lime here, a lime there, you go by partners, everybody get together home quietly. And we're not realizing that self contributes into the numbers. Like, I take a drive over the weekend there. And listen, Shogunas Health Center is converted into a COVID center. And I see they have a car park across the road with that tent. But if you see the file of people crossing the road to head into that place, I thinking whether it's confirmed cases or suspect cases or people who come for testing, that is a huge number of people for a small place like Shogunas Health Center. So we had to take things seriously, man. And I think we responded to it well. The images today of Shogunas, Harris Promenade, Brian Lara Promenade, where else they show us? I see images from Princess Town and the place looking dead silent. St. James Main Road, quiet. You ain't seeing nothing moving. I mean, Terrence would have shed a tear of joy if he had gone out there and see that. But I'm sure he do the right thing too, and he still, man. He would not be on the road at all. And I see policemen on the southbound lane on the highway stopping like they out there on the street. Because cars come in one and they stop every single car. I was happy to see them do that too. I think they do a good job. Salute to the officers because they stop Wassa truck. I see what looked like a prison's van. Everybody was stopped and had to explain and show their paperwork for why they're on the road. So it's a good move. And I'm hoping again that by the end of the week we're seeing our efforts, our collective efforts to do the right thing reflected in reduced numbers. While we saluting police and we talking about the police, I had to give credit where it's due to, because there's a man I like to pong, so when he do good, I had to give him his credit. Salute to Gary Griffith, because in the middle of the day today, after I see all them images of nothingness happening on the streets, I see some youth men from the beat-up set up a football match on the highway. Somebody must do something, You see, youths, when you're young, it's a hell of a thing, because I see some videos going around as well with people who playing curfew games, like people looking out and they're in the road and they're saying police come and all of them running. When you're young, you just had too much energy to stay locked up for too long. And we had to remember these youths locked up for a year. But them men went out on the highway and they beat up and started to sweat. Sounds exactly like what we used to do in St. James back in the day if we could have run from our curfew and do that. And I was reading through the comments. And I had to start to do less of that, to be honest, because reading through them comments could be disheartening, the way people talking down to people in the comments. I didn't even want to read none of the comments. And I say, well, boy, Gary and the boys coming for them. But Gary put out a press release that I am impressed by. It's long, but let me read the whole thing. I would like to thank all who overwhelmingly adhere to our first of two planned daylight curfews. Special mention to the hundreds who also made contact sending a short video of youths from Beetham Gardens breaking curfew and playing football on the roadways. We absolutely condemn such actions and warn against repeating in the future. But understanding the spirit of a state of emergency is not about locking up people. Rather, it is about preventing persons from gathering. We are satisfied that today was an overall success despite the Beetham anomaly. Some are calling for the TTPS to hunt them down at all costs, find them and bring them to justice. We are happy to inform that the infraction was mere seconds, and once officers in the vicinity were alerted by the command center, all scattered when they responded. However, understanding that officers can't be on site all the time, we are appealing to the parents, guardians, and older heads to let good sense prevail by guiding the youths to do better, to be better, as we battle this invisible enemy which has stolen so many of our citizens' lives. This is about collective responsibility and behavioral change. To the young men, I understand your frustration. I understand the exuberance of youths. And I promise that after the SOE and when things are back to normal, I will organize a football match where you will play officers from the interagency task force, which I am confident the police officers will easily beat you in the football match with pride. Salute. You see, this is what we need. We need so much more of that. I mean, my pause raising while I'm talking about it. This is the Gary Griffith who we look. This is the commissioner we want, who empowering in the things that he say and not talking down to people and making people feel like less. Who relating to people and empathizing and even a little bit humorous. This is the Gary we could know. This is the Gary who was on the stage with Buju and thing the time, you know. We need more of that. These youths and them, you know how different they would have feel if another press release done with a whole bunch of condemnation and changes nothing in the behavior. But when you say something like this, and I hope that they follow, I trust that they will follow through on this when the time comes. And I hope they make it a publicized thing where we could see it on TV. I would really like to see them play them youths down in there and let young brother and the men perform, make it into something, embrace the community. Policing is now always about what happened after the fact and locking up people for infractions and things. Policing is about helping people see things differently and helping people to understand why they are part of the society and the things that they do affect everybody and can impact them either positively or negatively later on in life. But they had to be able to see the bigger picture. We can't continue to treat it like the beatum is just an area where people pass with their glass up and nobody don't look in there and nobody don't care what happened to them, except when they come out on the highway and they do something. Everybody have something to comment on Facebook to say why them is the worst people it have. And you know what's make it bad? People saying that about them while they fully well know what the youths in their areas doing. It's the same thing. It ain't no different nowhere. It's youths. What you expect them to do? You know what I mean? Plenty real youth men and teenagers and thing went and found a place to be at 9 o'clock this morning and you ain't seen them till tomorrow morning. But that don't make the papers and things. So again, a huge salute to Gary Griffith for making a statement like this and turning something that could have been very, very negative into something positive. I hope that this flows over into your Facebook comments too. Don't get heated when people tell you things on Facebook, man. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't even waste time to respond to most of it. But when you do respond to it, there's what we're looking for, man. We're looking for people to uplift the society. You know what I mean? All right, let's jump into a little entertainment. Entertainment different, right? There's only home entertainment that have these days, right? So listen to your favorite podcast like mine. Or whatever you is watching. We on phones, we on tablets, we on laptops, so much more than TV now. And ain't much happening, but I want to talk about this Twitter Spaces. Twitter basically kill off Clubhouse. And I like Clubhouse and everything, but I find Clubhouse getting to be the same set of people talking, is a little bit of the same recycled kind of talk going on over and over. But boy, Twitter Space is a different thing because you see in rooms now with thousands of people. And it's impressive to hear some of these people talk because I had mentioned it with Keyshawn Haynes and stuff, doing interviews and all that. I'll talk about Peter George in a little while. Peter George realized he can't wait on Keyshawn Haynes, so he put out his own video. We can talk about it. But on Space, or Spaces, I don't know which one is the right one, if it's Space or Spaces. People entertaining on there. Like I find myself looking forward to seeing what coming next and what space is opening and what people talking about and just using that as think of it like a live podcast that you could listen to anytime during the day. So what I do is I follow a Twitter page called TT Space 3. So at TT Space 3 if you're on Twitter. When you follow them, it's telling you all the different spaces that are available because you don't usually see a space unless you're following somebody in that space, right? But they tell you anyone that's available. So like I looking at it now. Well, this is interesting because I see one open now with somebody called Psych Bay called Mondays for Men, Solo Male Intimacy. Who don't like a little solo male intimacy? You know what I mean? And another one with Michael Teja, Where the Curry. Indian Arrival Day, Happy Indian Arrival Day to all.
But
like I taken a few. The first one now is heavy sex talk too. Be kind line. You have to be careful what you go in. People we age. I don't know if we're ready for them youths now because these youths now on a different level. I fall in a room last week. I want to say it was Thursday night. And I just see the room and it was about exploring your kinks and sexuality. So I said, well, kinks I have. But clearly I have no kinks. I listened to that room for maybe a half hour and I realized I boring. I can't keep up with these youths. The things these youths doing and experimenting with, and not just doing and experimenting with, but talking about in plain sight. Like if, so matter of fact, and it's very much, I mean, I'm not there yet. I'm not that enlightened. So I always say these youths are the answers. I boring like hell. But these youths have the answers because they're talking about real thing. And I saying, but the amount of thing them talking about that me ain't doing it, no point in my life, me ain't trying them kind of thing. But what I like about it is that they getting the little kicks and talking, how youths is talk. And I talking about a room with a couple thousand people or 500 and something people, I think is what I saw in that particular room. So they clearly gain the interest of people. And what I like about it more than Clubhouse is you could react to what people saying I'm not talking or anything, but I could put an emoji showing people that are like what they say or disagree with what they say or whatever. And I could tweet while it's going on. So they have a whole conversation about what being said by the people who are speaking. But yeah, what I like about the youths is the way they talk about serious topics and open up the talk about sexuality. So it's not a taboo thing like how we grew up where you couldn't say this and you couldn't say that and you're ashamed to do this and that and the other. These youths have no shame. have no shame in the game in these youths. So I want to tell you is on a Thursday night, but I'm not sure that is because I reached out to one of the people who was speaking in the group. Salute to Gil Khadija. She runs a Instagram page called I think it's My Little Secret. Guess what the secret is? But she was telling me that it's not something that they schedule out and they do all the time. But I was telling her, listen, I find that something that they should do all the time. Like open up that conversation, have people talking. Them youths are the answers to all the issues, because they don't hide in the same way that we used to hide. And then of course the Thursday night crew, Voice, Salty, Travis, I'm going to say Travis Scott, yes, Travis Will, that squad have, and of course Major Penny, they have them men doing boat ride, lime, so DJing. I couldn't stay on too long because when I turn it on, I hear Travis Will and them playing music. One of the things that I might never get into, I think is an age thing. I can't sit down and listen to people play music on a phone. Like listen to it through them phone speakers is really song terrible, boy. So I can't do that for too long, but them youths have a following because that room for sure was thousands of people in there. And when you're watching Twitter, your Twitter is exploding with people who talking about who on the boat ride, who liming, this, that, who taking a drink. I'm glad to see that, man, because think about it, right? Coming on a press conference or us talking at our age and telling people stay home and don't do this, it's more like we singing archaic. We had to figure out a way to song more like Gary Griffith, more engaging and thing. And one of the things I like about this response to the pandemic is that there's a lot more effort to have entertainment that allows people to still feel free, still feel relieved, and enjoy themselves at home, but with company. I hope that makes some kind of sense because it's feeling like you're involved in something big when you see 2,000-3,000 people in a room and everybody talking and tweeting and having a time, and we all following the same thing and engaged in a way that missing because of the lockdowns and what we're going through, especially when we going through lockdowns now when other parts of the world more free and already past that point. So I find it's real good that these, no pun intended, but these spaces and these things happen where you could have some kind of an outlet. Like I found it, I said it a lot here where Instagram Live was that thing for me last year. I find like the Instagram Live thing dying down. Like I'm not seeing, I don't know where Niall has gone. Where's Niall with the supper club? Somebody call Niall and tell him it's time to come back on. But he used to do a show every night that was a little interesting, like a talk show. And I mean, to be honest, I considering doing something like that with Reynolds too. Maybe once a week. I don't know if I could make it more than once a week, but I considering jumping on a Thursday night, old people time, right? Not Voice and Penny and them time. Old people hours. and come on for a couple hours and just talk about what we talk about on the podcast or whatever. Because I like Reynolds. I like little barbershop talk. Is a good one. So I don't know. Maybe you'll see me on Instagram live on Thursday. But salute to those guys who on Twitter Space and doing it at a great level and engaging people and making it feel good to stay home. Those things are going to help us minimize the movement, just like the lockdowns. I think somebody needs to pass a note to Rowley, and talk about these things. If he talk about one of these things in a press conference, he changed his whole image up there. And the only one thing I would say, though, is I wish that these things could be recorded. You know what I mean? I always say that about radio, too. I'm a radio guy, you know. Maybe that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, because I like to sit down and listen to talk. So if they do sessions when I'm busy and I can't do it, and during the day I have work to do, I can't sit down and listen to that. But if it recorded like a podcast or something, I could go to it and listen to it at a different time. So like voice on them, I can't stay up there all the night to watch nothing. But the next morning when it's saved on Instagram, I like to go through and watch it, and it'll be pretty good. You know what I mean? Watch little pieces I could fast forward. I don't have the time to watch it live. But at least I could go to the best parts, if that makes sense. So I wish there was a way where those things are recorded and posted so we could catch up with it in our own time. But in the meantime, if you can't, just follow TT Space 3 on Twitter and you'll see all these spaces. And I don't want to leave it there like if all of it is sex talk and thing. Remember, Kijan does his interviews and Nikki Crosby and them try to get one off the ground with Gary Griffith. It didn't come off for whatever reason. But Gary Griffith built for them kind of thing. He entertaining and easy to listen to when he in the mood. So they have serious talk. They have plenty different things. And also, you could start your own. You could start your own spaces and people will join. That TT Space page will share your thing, and then you have plenty of eyeballs. So now is a good time to join into that and talk about something, man. Talk about something you're interested in. Make this little time at home less boring for all of us. All right, Peter George, what's he saying?
Sunday morning, post-COVID. This is the first video this kind I've ever done, and hopefully it's going to be the last. My position in the media has been very clear over the last 15 months, and if anything has been consistent. The government of Trinidad and Tobago needed to intervene to head off the economic fallout, stave off the potential looming economic catastrophe, and ensure the social and economic continuity of this country post-corona. Well, here we are 15 months later. The Prime Minister's conference yesterday punctuated what was a year-long policy of asymmetrical restrictions on the restaurant business that have borne no fruit. Because we are where we are till today. So I can say clearly restaurants aren't the problem.
All right, hold on, Peter. Hold on, Peter. Peter. I don't understand. Closing of the restaurants have borne no fruit, so clearly restaurants aren't the problem. We are 300, 400, 500, 600 some days cases a day. Is Peter trying to say that if restaurants was open, we'd still be at the same tree? Peter, suppose we was at 1,200 cases a day. I wonder if he considering that at all. Or if for those who don't know, I mean, Peter George is one of the biggest restaurant owners in the country, right? Trotters, Buzo, Blue Star Diner, a bunch of them, right? One in Dong in which part Prime used to be, I think they own that too. Because I like all the restaurants. That's my spots. But Peter, come on. Why would you open your statement by saying that the closing of restaurants? I understand that you are not pleased by closing of restaurants and the way it's done. Me neither. Because I can't see why when at the point when restaurants were closed, I'm not talking about this week with the SOE and everything. At the time where they closed restaurants and left street side open, I was thinking it would have been safer to close street side and let other people do deliveries or drive up. What you call it again? Curbside. So at Doubles, man, some of them just have somebody there counting the money anyhow. Do it curbside where you could pick up your thing, or a Doubles man could give you a WhatsApp number. And we were talking about innovation just a few minutes ago. The street side vendors could have made it where nobody could come out of the car and line up or anything, and we could go curbside. Now we reach a point where movement had to be stopped totally based on the numbers that's out there. Because if every day is 300-400 people, think of how much contacts each person have, and then multiply that by 300-400, and I think you will start to see why a complete lockdown. So for him to come and respond to say this now, I mean, it's not different from what he's been saying all the time, but why would you open by saying that the closure of the restaurants has had no impact, like if nothing happened? But let me take in a little more what you said, a little longer, but let me take it in.
But that's not the point of this message.
Oh.
This message is directed, it's almost a plea for us to engage in a meaningful, strategic plan for post-COVID economic and social recovery. Tactical decisions and tactical solutions are no more important. As I told a member of the chamber yesterday, even if restaurants were to reopen, I would not open my restaurants in protest.
Peter, did you just say if restaurants were open, you would not open your eyes? You know what I'm doing this wrong? Because talking about Peter George getting more hungry, to be honest. Did Peter just say that if they open, he not going to open in protest? I want to see that. Seeing is believing. I don't believe you. I think you will be the first person to open back your door. But if you say you open, let me see.
Conventional thinking will yield us conventional results. We have reached a stage now where we need a meaningful fiscal intervention by this government into individuals and businesses if we are to get to the other side of this in one piece. So I'm going to say some things now that the Prime Minister's inside advisors either have not told him because of lack of courage or lack of knowledge, or perhaps he's not listened. The same goes for our business leaders and our business bodies who have not emphatically said these things to the Prime Minister. We need to get fiscally involved to help people today.
Fiscally involved.
We need to stop looking at the politics of the COVID-19 virus and situation and start dealing with the economics of it. People in this country are in serious pain. Businesses in this country are in serious pain. Many of them, the amounts we can't even count, have already folded up tent. Others have held on for as long as they can, under severe conditions. Individuals have seen savings become completely eroded. They live under the specter of eviction, tea and tech disconnection, and an environment where telephone companies and other vital providers are reaching out to people about their bills the day their bills are even processed, threatening disconnection.
Right.
People need help.
True.
When we call the ministry,
Yeah.
and the response about the meager $1,500 grant
Yeah.
is applications are being processed with a view to distributing at the end of June. Clearly, Prime Minister, the government can't be serious. When a roundtable is called of business leaders to discuss the financial situation in the country and the economic situation in the country, and neither yourself or the Minister of Finance shows up, you can't be serious, Prime Minister.
All right. Now that I take an issue with, that's a serious thing, because while these guys are in the midst of dealing with this and would be enormously and extremely busy dealing with every ministry, everything is pulling in different directions for the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister. But if the business leaders in the country have a round table, that would be a critical place for the Prime Minister, at least the Minister of Finance, to be in, to understand not just what they're going through, but some of the suggestions they have for how they feel it could work. I've been asking since the beginning of this thing. I wonder how often they're meeting with the business community when they're making these changes. That the more I see it, is the more it coming across as Vikey. But I want to understand, like, all in not engaging the biggest business. So when you're closing down restaurants, as much as I'm making joke with Peter, I ain't playing no more that night. The night long. You go and check it out, right? But I think he make the point that he was getting to about the way it is being handled. The most important thing he's saying is that there's a lack of consultation. That is a real issue. We like to talk this 1% talk, but I don't like the 1% thing. You know my stance on the 1%. 1% just mean the top 1% of earners in the country. It means that any one of us could access that. All we had to do is earn more, find ways, innovate, open companies, whatever it is. The 1% that I grew up hearing about, like Kerpalani and Dilemma, you don't even hear them names no more. So the 1% is not a permanent thing, and it's not no skin color and all them things, right? The 1% is within reach, as far as I'm concerned. But whoever is in that 1%, let's say that Peter George is in the 1% of restaurant owners in the country, Christian Mute is only 1% of restaurant owners in the country. Them men own the biggest restaurant chains, pulling the biggest restaurant chains and the biggest footprint restaurants that have in the country. How you could make a decision to close down restaurants before you talk to them men? I don't understand. And let me expand that to say, use somebody like, remember when Sauce Doubles or Ali's Doubles was in trouble last year for something or the other they do? A Doubles man who owned 20-something, 30-something locations. How they could not be consulted when you're going to shut down street food? You can't talk to everybody. You can't talk to every single restaurant owner or everybody who own a Doubles. But, oh God, call in the biggest boys and discuss it with them. See, hey, because these people are at the, well, you used to say a long time, they cold face. Them and facing the heat. They out there doing the work every day. So they know more about restaurant work than the Minister of Finance or the Prime Minister. So if you bring them in, you might get some ideas because they are clearly very, very willing to innovate and to try different things and to adjust what they're doing, taking the pandemic into consideration and putting people's lives and their safety first. He went on to say that he seeking the economics or seeking the money or trying to protect the future of the country from an economic standpoint with employment, profit and all that does not mean to say that you don't care about people and their livelihood and things. And it's not fair to people to say, because it's a pandemic, anytime you say business, the response is, well, people dying, so whatever. The whatever will come back to bite. We have a long road to walk when this thing is said and done. And the easiest way to make that road walkable, if I could put it like that, is to plan for what's going to happen post-COVID. Plan for what's going to happen after everybody vaccinated and we going back into... You shut down... I'm not sure about this, but from what he said, if you have a round table with businesses in this country and neither of them in show up, I would like for him to say who show up on behalf of the government. Because if I was the Prime Minister, I would have called in the biggest business people in this country a long time ago. When I shutting down businesses, I would have called in the biggest employers. I call in the places who are making the biggest impact. When I shut down Carnival, how you doing that without talking to people from Tribe and talking to Fed promoters? The biggest people in the country had to be consulted when you're making these changes. It's not to say that they're telling you not to do it. I had to go to you and say, here, what's going on, Peter? Peter, I had to shut down restaurants because restaurants is XYZ. He is going to come up with better suggestions because as a restaurant owner who innovate over so many years to build some of the top brands, not just in the region, not just in the country, but in the region, he will come up with some ideas. You get where I'm coming from? He could tell you, well, all right, if I do curbside only, I only have to call out 40% of my staff, but I could pay all. Or I could rotate my hours and make sure that people... You understand what I mean? So again, I'm taking it out to the extreme because this week we're going through here is an extreme. But boy, I hear in Peter George frustration. I like to laugh and joke and think, but when you get a chance, it going through all the WhatsApp groups and everything, and if you didn't see it, WhatsApp me, I'll send it to you. Or Twitter or Instagram or something, I'll send the whole thing to you because it's worth listening to. And I find that the idea of when I say government by VAPs, one of the reasons I keep referring to that is because it seems as though people making decisions on behalf of other people without necessarily talking to the experts. You'll be making decisions on behalf of restaurants without talking to restaurant owners. I don't see it will always come across as an issue because, and you know, an example of that is where in trying to respond to this pandemic and how we keep the lights on, keep employment, because these things is important things after. Yes, the health is a critical thing, but when you're alive now, you live. Get me? So when I saw street side vending open but restaurants closed and KFC that week come out with a mobile thing, it shows that the business people willing to try, they're willing to innovate, they're trying to figure out how this thing could work. It's not just skirting their responsibilities and them things. They're trying to keep people employed and them things. You know what I mean? It's not just profits. So when I see how willing they are to innovate, that would be, I think, is fertile ground for some meetings to go and talk to them people, find out, well, okay, how does this affect you? How if we do this, what will happen? And I going back to my Alberta example again, you could also set up something for them that says, okay, when the cases is X, and the level of hospitalization is 40%, you could only do 50% dining, you can't serve alcohol, you can't do this, you can't do that. When it gone back down to this, you could only do outdoor dining, you could serve alcohol, and let people know, because then a man could sit down and plan out his business and say, well, all right, if this is that, all right, I'm done. Go and listen to Peter George on that. I don't want to talk too long about that, but I appreciate that he come out and make. I would really like to see he and Kijan Haynes fight. You know what I mean? Get each one of them have 5 minutes and some boxing gloves. Sometimes we looking for entertainment in this little lockdown, and so it would be nice to see a little fight. But without the fight, it was nice for him to come out and make that video. Those are not people that we hear from very often in a setting like that. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw a video being made like that was my partner from Starlight apologizing. You remember that? What your name again? He come and apologize for saying black people is thief shoes and all these things, you know what I mean? But I tell Ole already, you know, I cross in the picket line and they see me and Ole. Starlight had the good food, especially in this lockdown when I had to work and thing. I am crossing the picket. I now see an article the other day about Patrice Cullors. If you don't know Patrice Cullors, Google Patrice Cullors, right? Cullors spelled Cullors. Patrice Cullors is one of the founders of the BLM movement, right? And when we start this BLM thing here and following these Yankees, because I remember nobody going to set me up in a Black Lives Matter, right? So don't come to me with nothing and say that I say this and that and the other. But this woman was one of the co-founders of the BLM movement. And now she's reported as having to resign and step down from the movement because of impropriety. What you say that word? Inappropriation? Misappropriation? I don't know what words are saying right now. Thieving funds, right? Thieving funds, basically. Because she has a thriving personal real estate portfolio. And doesn't seem to be able to answer the questions as to where the money coming from. No, I shouldn't say that. She answered the questions as to where the money come from, right? But she said the money come from speaking engagements, from her book, from YouTube revenues and streams and all these nice things. But it seems as though a lot of the donations that coming into Black Lives Matter are ending up in bricks and mortar of buildings owned by Patrice Cullors. I saying all that to say I go in Starlight. I'm saying all that to say I'm not on this boycotting no more. The BLM, people sorting out themselves in this BLM. So she step aside. Kudos to you for doing the right thing and stepping away and not tainting the movement and all these nice things and whatever. But I go in and get my chocolate back, whatever thing is that I was only getting Starlight. There's have some little salmon meals and thing. I go in and get that and some lamb, whatever, biryani. You have nowhere to buy nothing, so I'm sorry. But I'm out. I'm going back Starlight and I'm thieving sneakers again. I'm back in the game. And as Diane's open back, I'm going and let somebody write whoever matters on my cake. I'm going and eat by Diane's and drink hot tea and thing in the morning too. So don't vex with me. Well, I'm boycotting. I studying these Yankees and them, and I boycotting my good businesses, and I under pressure in the end of the day. Hey, what we should have talked about first, we end up talking about last, but Chelsea, the Champions League champions again, back to back, kind of. Never lost a Champions League final, as I say, a little bit, kind of. You know what I mean? Back on top. I was glad to take it that thing to lift your spirits and sour everybody else. You can't really be that. All them people who in red and all them different people who in blue, all different light blue and thing outside with them. Chelsea right back on top. Drogba get them the S in the Drogba say, boy, leave everything out on the field. And one man who do that is N'Golo Kante. That man is different level. When that man's 5'6", when you think of how he getting through with them players and muscling out players who is 6 foot something and big, that man is a legend in Chelsea going forward. And I just want to say a special thanks to Lamps, who bring the team a certain way. Well, Lamps never used to change nothing, man. Lamps used to get me sick. Every time you watch a Chelsea game, it's the same thing you're watching, and he ain't doing nothing major to change the game. We go down, he playing the same way. We up big, he playing the same way. I never understand. I guess he need more experience as a coach. You know, I should have get Sheppy and them to come and talk about this. It might make a little sense. But salute to my guy Timo Werner for running as far away from the ball as possible and making sure that Havertz have a clear. Once Werner ain't get any ball, we have a chance to win. I don't know what. I see Torres go through it in Chelsea back in the day where you just get gun shy and you score so much in your lifetime, but you just can't score when you come there, boy. But Havertz come through and it just take one goal. Pep really couldn't make it. I don't know what's Pep seen neither. Pep Guardiola rather lost and leave Sergio Aguero on the bench. I don't understand. Coaching is something. Yeah, maybe I'll get Barney and Birdie and them to come on and talk a little bit about this another time. Because I can't understand what coaches see that we as lay people can't see. Like when I watching a game, in my mind, I go and start Aguero regardless of what's going on. And I feel like I go and build the game around him. But from a technical standpoint, them fellas and them see some things that I might be missing. But salute to Chelsea, and we're coming back for it next year again. Staying with football, the Soca Warriors back in action. We're preparing for the 5th of June against Bahamas. And on the 8th of June, I believe the next leg is against St. Kitts. So, something to look forward to. This CONCACAF thing real confusing to me. But more or less, these is 2 must-win games. After we done going to draw Puerto Rico side, we don't know nothing about no football. I don't know Puerto Rican football side. So, I mean, I hope we beat Bahamas. We had to beat Bahamas, right? I mean, come on. And then St. Kitts. One thing I watch the games from the last round that we play, and St. Kitts looking, if nothing else, them fellas big and they're very, very powerful. So I'm hoping that we going in there guns blazing and we ain't taking no licks from those St. Kitts and them kind of thing. And we take these 6 points, and hopefully them other teams like Puerto Rico and them get slowed down or draw some games and we go through, because it will be real embarrassing for us to come to this point and not go through. I mean, come on. When we are one of the we have some of the best chances to qualify for World Cups in the next 2 upcoming World Cups. And these are the times for the team to be sharp. But I mean, the guys already gone to Bahamas. I don't think we have any hope of getting local games in this round, because I suppose once people not vaccinated in large numbers, we ain't gonna be going in the stadium anyway. But I guess is there benefit to playing home even though the stadium empty? But then again. Every Soca Warriors team would be accustomed to playing in the stadium empty. So I guess the thing will be no difference. But good luck to them. We supported them 100%. As we fully behind them. We back in the team. Win, lose or draw. But win. No, don't forget the lose or draw part. And I see them. I was following TTFA on Instagram. And I mean, Fenwick. You know how I feel about Fenwick already. But now I see them fellas reach Bahamas and they're doing little work, and I expected them to be doing drills, and when I watch good Zumba the men doing, I see them doing a kind of dance and a half step and a wine. Right? I don't know not about football, so I suppose that will loosen up your hipster. I don't know, but that Zumba, the national footballers, I know. But best wishes to them. We are 100% in support of Soca Warriors. I'll be glued in front of my TV on June 5th. I supposed to be talking to only before the 5th of June again. I think by the time I come back here, that game on June 5th. Now we are wait. Yeah, by the time by the time you hear from me again, both games might be played. The next game is on next week, Tuesday, when this podcast releasing. So we go review that and see how they go. But I guarantee a win against Bahamas. I think Bahamas good for about 4 minimum, and we ain't conceding against no side like Bahamas. After that, them boys and them, they tail up. Everybody aggressive going into the next game, looking, you know what I mean, knowing what victory feels like, and St. Kitts should be good for the same 4. So 8 goals conceded, none over this next leg, and cruising into the next part of the thing that I don't understand, wherever the new hex is. Let me see how it go. All right, just a couple of things before we get out here. I want to touch, I see a lot of people is be complaining about the Express and the way they report, right? But to be honest with you, most of the people who I see complaining about the Express is diehard PNM when you're saying some bad about the PNM, so I don't take it on too much. But I see something in the Express here that was, I'd describe it as weird at best. So, boy, and I don't know if people think through the way they say things and the way things appear, but this is written by Michael Mondesi, May 29, 2021. It's about Johan Chakari, which is a panist. His sister is, she's called herself the Piano Girl. So Chakari is a real musical family too. I mean, they playing their aces when it comes to playing. She playing piano, he playing she playing piano, he playing pan. Aces on the pan, right? But just a little thing, and I ain't saying too long on this, but I just want to touch on it, where the article opened by saying Johan Chakari is the epitome of the modern Indo-Trinidadian. The 31-year-old is a proud descendant of East Indian laborers, prays to Jesus Christ and plays the pan. I don't understand. And I was checking his Instagram to see how he felt about it. And he didn't seem to be bothered by it in any way. Like, he was reposting the article and stuff, but people were commenting on it, and it sounded offensive to me. I didn't like. Boy, listen, when I watched the way they put it, I said, but wait, how they could put it in a way where they put them two things so close together? So use the epitome of a modern. So what you saying? Any Indo-Trinidadian who do pray to Jesus Christ, he old school or she? Boy, listen, I don't understand how they put these things together and then be surprised when people upset or offended by it. You can't say things like that. Me, I'm a religious person, but you have to respect other people's things. Like, why would you print that like that, Michael Mondesi? Like, what message you sending overall? So I joined in the PNM people a little bit here when I was talking the Express, because I was surprised that this not just get written. Like, when you read over this, you might not find it sounding a little weird, or you don't have an editor who see this and say, well, nah, that ain't sounding so right, modern Indo-Trinidadian, and they praying to Jesus. It's like, what had to do with the price of rice? You know what I mean? But I'm leaving it alone. I just wanted to put it out there because I find it was real odd. In wrapping up, I want to congratulate all the people who finished the exams in university. I saw a lot of people tweeting about finishing the final exam. So it's not graduate yet. I guess when you finish your last exam, you're a graduate, I think is what they call it. So congratulations to all of them. I remember what it was like finishing my final exam with some good partners, man, like Nikolai Jones and Slim and Bert and Osman and them. And we went Pizza Hut and just eat some after. I mean, you're so exhausted having studied for the exam for so long. And we used to do 5 exams at a time back then. And there's no feeling that beats that. The moment you graduate is such a different thing. Let me put it this way. You see the graduation, that's for other people. And a little line where you meet back up with your friends and see everybody because at that point, you have your core group of friends who you continue to line with after exams all the way till grad. But a lot of people who you used to see all the time on campus and be around, you ain't going to be around them, and you get to bounce back up and see some of your lecturers and thing and your parents. That's for them. But you see that last exam, that's a special feeling, boy. There's always say you can't take the education away from somebody. And that's how I felt when I finished my last exam, with that tiredness and that relief. I felt like I had something that nobody could take. It's a hard thing to describe, So when I saw people tweeting about that, I feel good for them to know that, boy, you finished this final thing. And I see people like calling themselves, I finally could call myself an engineer or a doctor. Boy, that is a nice feeling. So congratulations and salute to everybody who got to that point and enjoy the time, especially because all you went through a final year. That I don't know if I would have graduated if I had a final year like this, to be honest. If I do my first 2 years and then the last year's pandemic and it's online school and studying home and no more campus life and no more man to look for. Imagine I have an exam, I can look in a man paper next to me and see what he put. What would have been my case, boy? I would have never get through. Imagine I had to stay home and do work. And that wasn't happening. So I respect and admire these youth so much now who graduate during a time like this, because it would have been enormously hard. So enjoy your moment, boy. Like, I make a little lime, boy. Let us stay home after. Can't make a Pizza Hut, nothing. You know what I mean? But it's a great feeling. Savor the feeling. Go on to do more and more. Enjoy your careers. But don't forget this moment. That's a great moment for any youth who went to school. Ask Wade Mark. You know what I mean? He graduated. He did the last exam. All right, I'm done. We're 15 minutes short of 2 hours. So everybody stay safe. It's a short week in Trinidad. Let's just continue to do our part as to make sure that this thing under control, and that by the time I talk to you next week again, we're good to go. Thanks for everybody for listening. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share. People watching on YouTube, you can also press the little like button, you know what I mean? So that more people will get to see it and all these nice things, you know what I mean? Help our brother out. But until then, next week.